Well, you wrote an interesting column recently, an amusing column recently about Honorado and Governor Rendell and the relationship between the two of them, or lack of relationship between the two of them. You want to talk a little bit about how Governor Rendell may or may not be helping Dan Honorado in his campaign?
Yeah, Governor Rendell is not helping Honorado in his campaign. Governor Rendell is going...
Why is that?
Well, he's going out the hardest of any lame duck that we've seen in the governor's seat, as long as I can remember. He's still acting like he's a first-term governor and he's going to get all sorts of things passed, including transportation fees and possibly taxes, higher taxes for roads, for transit, for bridges. And every time he opens his mouth and uses the T word, number one, it sucks oxygen out of the room for any Democrat, and number two, it throws this out there in the middle of the governor's race, because who's going to have to decide that? Corbett or Honorado next year. So that puts Honorado on the defensive immediately, having to say, "Oh no, not me. I'm not gonna do that." So that brings into debate then the focus of what Corbett's trying to show anyway, and that is taxes that Rendell made them enormously higher, and in his view, Honorado will do the same thing. I think we're going to see Corbett, to use a term from the Clinton era, triangulate this race with Rendell and Honorado, Corbett on this side, and the attacks are going to be directed at Rendell, TV ads, everything else, and you're going to see Rendell and Honorado, side by side in Corbett's ads. That's just my opinion. No one's shared that, but I think there was a hint of that in the primary. There was one ad towards the very end that Corbett did that keyed on Rendell's spending and debt, and so I think that's what we're going to see.
What do you think Dan Honorado is going to be inviting President Obama into the state to help him?
Can't imagine. Can't imagine that. No, I don't think so.
Another liability?
Yeah, at this point he is. I mean, that just takes more explaining about why Democrats are where they are right now. All the polling, statewide and nationally, indicates that we're looking at a Republican year. The only question is how much of a Republican year. It could be a moderate Republican year, and not as big as everybody expected, or it could be a tsunami.
Oh, that'll be interesting.
We see that among the pundits that the famous cycle is well known when it comes to gubernatorial elections. Our viewers may not be familiar with it, except our most diehard viewers who've heard us talk about it once or twice in the past. But many observers believe this is, of course, Tom Corbett's election to lose, because since the Second World War, there's been a 8-year turnover in the governor's office without exception. 8 years of Democrats, 8 years of Republicans, 8 years of Democrats, 8 years of Republicans. And even when the governor wasn't allowed to succeed himself from the end of the Second World War to 1968-69. So it's a Republican cycle. The Republicans are expected to win. Tom Corbett's expected to win. Did this affect the Democratic field, do you think? Because the Democratic field seemed to be weaker than perhaps it could have been. Is there a belief that the cycle is real out there among the real-world politicians?
I think that no one believes that it's magical, that it has some power that would determine what's going to happen in 8 years. No one thinks that. But as your, I guess it's former colleague Terry Madonna has written in a column, there's just this infinitesimal chance that it's just a fluke. If you figure out the statistics of all these eight-year cycles, could it change this time? Yeah, but
infinitesimal.
The odds are very, very, very slim. That's going to change. So I think people realize that what happens, I think, is the Pennsylvania voters just get tired, maybe bored with certain policies after 8 years, and they want to change, they want to switch, they want something new, they want something exciting. They don't want the same guy, or a guy who's perceived to be someone from the other Democrats or Republicans camp. So there is something very real to the cycle. It's just not It's statistical, not ethereal.
Well, if you had an opportunity to give Honorado and Susquehanna some advice, and you were going to talk to what they're calling the leaners, the people who are undecided, but when asked a follow-up question, which way are you leaning? If they were leaning towards them, what do you think that those two should do to seal the deal with those voters?
I think Honorado is already saying what he needs to say, and I think he's saying it effectively, and that is that, you know, Tom Corbett really doesn't have any experience running government. Honorado is trying to use basically the same experience argument that Rendell used as Philadelphia mayor. Rendell effectively argued that his 2 terms as Philadelphia mayor gave him the experience to run the state. And I think Honorado is saying that Corbett doesn't have that, and Honorado, does have it as a result of his experience as an Allegheny County executive. It's an argument that does play with voters. Who's got the experience to run the state? So I don't know what else he could say.
And Susquehanna, what would you tell him? Hang in there?
Yeah, that's tough. Until there really was no job offer, I guess. That's how I would say.
From the White House.
Yeah. I guess in his case, he just still hammers the Wall Street Mr. Derivative thing and hopes that sticks.
Yeah.
And you find these trends that have been going on in Pennsylvania politics for some time. The Republicans once relied heavily on the Philadelphia suburbs, on Delaware County, Montgomery County, Chester County, Bucks County, and those counties have been trending more Democratic in recent elections. Governor Rendell may have played, or Mayor Rendell may have played a role in that. And in southwestern Pennsylvania, of course, here you have a heavily Democratic area that has trended at the polls in this last few decades Republican because of social values, conservative social values. Are those trends going to continue, Brad? What role will those play in these upcoming elections?
That's a really good question. I think they will continue, but not to the same degree in southeastern Pennsylvania. Rendell just drove that turnout over the past 8 years. I mean, he really did. That was a huge factor. Southwest, I think, is going to continue to be conservative. I mean, we saw, you know, Beaver County, one-time Democratic bastion, move to the Republican side in the past couple elections. That's phenomenal. Westmoreland has been doing it over the past 10 years, but now we see Beaver and some other counties, Washington is moving in that area. So whether it's all a result of the Tribune Review's conservative editorials, I don't know, but
take credit.
But seriously, on a serious note, it is a trend that's real, and so is the Democratic trend in the Southeast.
Brad, we want to thank you for being with us today. We want to have you come in after the election to do some analysis.
Postmortem.
And good luck to you keeping up with the candidates during the campaign season. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for being
We'll
here.
be back
Thanks
next
for
week
having
with a new edition of Behind the Headlines. We'll see you then.
Headlines is a production of the Susquehanna Valley Center for Public Policy, a nonpartisan, nonprofit research organization helping Pennsylvania build a brighter future.